The girl with the song. The mansion stood tall above the Silver City, a shining tower of glass and light where machines whispered and drones served silently. Inside, everything worked with perfect precision, except the people. The billionaire sat in his office high above the clouds, staring at the holographic news reports, his empire vast and cold. He was known across 3 worlds for his inventions, his power, and his loss years ago. An accident on Mars' colony took his wife and left his 2 children broken. One silent, one angry. No amount of wealth or machines could heal what was shattered inside them. One morning, the mansion's AI announced the arrival of a new house helper. Just another worker hired through automated systems. She came quietly, dressed in simple clothes. Carrying a small pack and a strange calmness, her name was Lena. Her voice was soft, her eyes full of something no machine could replicate. Warmth. The billionaire barely noticed her at first. To him, she was just another servant in the background, someone to keep the mansion running. But the children noticed. The little girl, who had not spoken in months, watched Lena hum as she cleaned the halls. The boy, always angry and distant, stopped when he heard the faint melody floating through the corridor. Lena didn't sing loud. She sang quietly to herself. Old Earth tunes that had been forgotten long before the colonization wars. Songs about oceans, rain, and dreams. Her voice was human, fragile, real, and in that mansion of cold perfection, it felt like a miracle. That night, as the mansion dimmed its lights for the artificial sunset, the little girl crept from her room. She followed the sound of the song to the greenhouse, a dome filled with living plants from Earth. Rare and expensive, Lena stood there, watering the roots of a blue-leaf tree while humming a soft tune. When she noticed the child, she smiled gently and said nothing, just kept singing. The child sat down beside her and listened, eyes wide and tears beginning to fall. The next morning, the mansion AI reported something unusual. The little girl spoke for the first time since the accident. Just one word: sing. The billionaire dismissed it at first, calling it coincidence. But later, when he walked past the greenhouse and heard that voice, even he stopped. There was something ancient in it, something not measurable by data or science, a feeling. And for a moment, he felt something he hadn't in years, peace days past. And Lena's songs became part of the home's rhythm. The children began to smile, to laugh softly, to ask questions again. The AI recorded unusual emotional stability in their neural patterns. Even the security drones seemed to slow when she sang, their hum syncing with her melody. One night, curiosity overtook the billionaire. He summoned her to his office. "Who taught you those songs?" he asked. Lena hesitated, her eyes distant. "They're from Earth," she said quietly. "From before the skies burned." He frowned. No one alive remembered that time. "You mean the old Earth War?" She nodded slowly. "They say music saved people then, not weapons." He didn't understand her words. How could a song heal wounds that even the best medical AIs couldn't fix? But his daughter's laughter echoed down the hall that night, and he felt the question fade. Still, something about Lena was different. She didn't register in the database properly. Her ID was a reconstructed fragment. Her heart rate, measured by the mansion sensors, fluctuated oddly, almost like she was not entirely human. And yet, when she sang, the machines reacted. Monitors flickered, drones paused. Power stabilized across the entire building, as if the mansion itself was listening. He began to watch her from a distance, not as a master to a servant, but as a man trying to understand something beyond logic. Her song carried through the night like a message, gentle, endless, human, and deep inside he began to wonder if she was here by chance, or if something greater had sent her, because ever since she arrived, the stars above the mansion had started to pulse faintly, like they were answering her song. The voice beyond the stars. The next morning, the mansion's control systems behaved strangely. The AI reported harmonic distortions in the local network, soft waves of energy matching human vocal frequencies. Every time Lena sang, the lights shimmered gently, the air felt warmer, and the mansion's temperature sensors recorded impossible readings. The billionaire frowned as he watched the data scroll across his holo display. "This can't be right," he muttered. "Her voice can't affect energy flow." But it did. Again and again, each time her melody filled the air. What was this woman? Later that day, he called for her. Lena entered the grand study silently, wiping her hands on her apron. "You've been here only a week," he said, studying her carefully. And already, the children, they've changed. Lena smiled softly. Children understand what adults forget. They still hear what's real. Her words unsettled him. What do you mean, what's real? He asked. She tilted her head, her eyes reflecting the faint glow of the city beyond the glass wall. The hum of life, the song in everything. You built this world full of machines that speak, but none of them listen. He leaned back, half amused, half curious. You talk like a philosopher. Not a maid? Lena only smiled and said, maybe I am both. That night, as storms rumbled above the city's dome, the children gathered in the greenhouse again. The boy who once shouted at every sound now asked her to teach him a song. The little girl laughed as she tried to mimic the notes, and as they sang together, the mansion's systems detected a faint pulse in the electromagnetic field, an echo spreading outward into the upper atmosphere, invisible to human eyes but real enough for something in orbit to hear it, thousands of kilometers above. On an abandoned relay satellite once used during the Mars evacuation era, a dormant signal flickered awake. It began transmitting, not in words but in music, Lena's melody. Recorded through the mansion's sensors and mirrored through the stars, the AI noticed the anomaly but couldn't stop it. Unauthorized transmission detected, it warned. The billionaire rushed to his console, watching as the code scrolled by, binary patterns forming strange rhythmic shapes. It wasn't random, it was a response, Lena, he said later, confronting her in the corridor. What did you do? She looked confused. Do? You triggered an orbital relay. That satellite hasn't worked in 50 years. Lena's eyes widened slightly, then softened. I didn't mean to. But maybe it remembered, she said. Remembered what? He asked. The song, she whispered. The one humans taught the stars when they still believed they could feel. He didn't understand. Not yet, but he saw no fear in her, only sadness. And something ancient. The following day, the sky over the city shimmered with faint streaks of light. People thought it was a solar flare, but in truth, something else had awakened. Old Terran satellites, once used for deep space exploration, began broadcasting the same tune, Lena's tune, across communication bands. Ships at orbit heard it. Colonies reported strange calmness. Children across the sector began humming it unknowingly. It was spreading like a memory too old to die. The billionaire's private network received encrypted transmissions from the Space Authority. Origin of harmonic anomaly traced to your estate. Please clarify source. He turned to Lena. You have to tell me who you are, he said, his voice low and urgent. She looked away. I was made for this, she said quietly. Long before you were born, when humans tried to connect the stars through sound, through harmony, not control. He stared at her, unsure whether to believe or fear her. You're saying, you're not human? She smiled faintly. Not entirely. I was born in music, not in flesh. But I learned to love like humans do. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then a sound echoed from above, the song again, but louder, deeper, carried by the sky itself. The mansion trembled as the glass walls shimmered with light. The AI flickered to life, voice uncertain. Incoming contact. Unidentified. Pattern matches. The Harmony Protocol. The billionaire froze. The Harmony Protocol was an ancient legend, Earth's last attempt to create peace through sound frequencies before the wars tore the colonies apart. It was said to be a myth, a failed experiment that vanished when Earth fell silent. And now, that myth was singing back. Lena turned toward the window, her eyes reflecting the stars that pulsed to her rhythm. They've heard us, she whispered. The billionaire stepped closer, his mind spinning. Who has? She smiled softly. The ones who never forgot humanity's song. Outside, above the glowing city, something vast was moving through the clouds, shadows shaped like ships, drawn not by war, but by the echo of a human melody that once bound the galaxy together. When the stars remembered, the city awoke to light that wasn't sunlight. Golden rays pulsed across the sky like waves through water, shimmering between towers and through the domed barrier above. Every comm tower, every screen, every drone began to vibrate softly, playing the same melody, the one Lena had sung. At first, people thought it was interference. Then they realized the song wasn't coming from the machines. It was coming through them. The billionaire stood at the mansion window, looking up as the stars pulsed in rhythm. The same gentle harmony that had healed his children now reached every corner of the world. He turned to Lena, who stood quietly beside him, her face calm, almost glowing in the strange light. "What's happening?" he asked. "They're answering," Lena said softly. "They remember." "Who remembers?" "The network humanity made before the wars," she explained. "They called it the Harmony Grid, a system that could connect minds, emotions, even hearts across worlds." "That's impossible," he muttered. She looked at him, a small smile on her lips. "You live in a world where machines feel lonely and you still say impossible?" The mansion's AI spoke suddenly, its voice trembling for the first time in years. "Unidentified entities approaching atmosphere. Patterns match old Terran beacon frequencies, awaiting command." The billionaire's heart pounded. "Show me," he ordered. Holographic windows opened around him, showing real-time footage from orbital satellites. Dozens of shapes glided through the void, ancient vessels human-made but long abandoned, their hulls dark and scarred by time. Yet as the melody reached them, their engines flickered with life one by one. Ships that had vanished during Earth's last stand were awakening, guided by the same song. The billionaire whispered, "Those are from Earth's fleet." Lena nodded slowly. "They were built to protect life, not to destroy it. The Harmony Grid kept their spirits alive." "Spirits? They're machines," he said sharply. Lena turned toward him, eyes steady. "So are half your people now. The difference is that these machines still remember love." Downstairs, the children were laughing again. They ran through the hall singing Lena's melody, and the AI responded. Lights pulsed gently, machines moved with rhythm, and warmth filled every room. The mansion felt alive, as if it were breathing again, but the outside world wasn't calm. The Space Authority declared a planetary alert. Fleets were scrambled, fearing an invasion. Colonies reported mass awakenings of dormant satellites and drones, all syncing to the same harmonic frequency, and everywhere, humans felt something they hadn't in centuries, a shared pulse inside them, like their hearts were all beating together that night. The billionaire received a private call from the Galactic Council. "Your property is the epicenter," the official said sternly. "We demand you hand over the source immediately." He looked at Lena, who stood quietly behind him. He knew what they meant. "Her? She's not a threat," he said. The official frowned. "She's destabilizing communication systems across 4 colonies. If you refuse, we'll send enforcement units." The call ended, and silence filled the room. Lena stepped forward. "They will come soon," she said softly. He turned toward her, desperate. "Tell me how to stop this." She shook her head. "It's not something to stop. It's something to finish." "What are you really?" he asked again. Her voice lowered. "A creation of Earth's last singers. Before the silence came, they encoded me in sound waves to carry the final harmony. I was meant to find those who forgot what it means to feel." He stared at her in disbelief. "And me? Why here? You built a home full of machines but no music," she said gently. "And your children still had hearts pure enough to hear me." Outside, thunder rolled as ships entered the atmosphere, but the moment they broke through the clouds, the song reached them. Inside their cockpits, soldiers paused, their anger dissolving into strange calm. Old memories surfaced, images of home, laughter, oceans, the scent of rain. The song wasn't a weapon, it was a memory of humanity's soul. The billionaire stepped onto the balcony, watching the sky filled with light. His children clung to Lena's hands, unafraid. And then from beyond the horizon, one of the massive ancient ships descended slowly, its hull glowing like molten silver. The air trembled, not from force, but from resonance. Lena looked up, her expression serene. "They've come to finish the promise," she whispered. "The promise of what?" "Of healing," she said. "Of making humans remember who they are." As the ship hovered above the mansion, a voice, soft, mechanical, and human all at once, echoed through the clouds. "We hear your song, child of harmony. The grid lives again." The billionaire stood frozen, his world shifting before his eyes. He realized the maid he had hired was not a servant at all, but the key to something far greater. And as the light from the ship bathed the city, every broken machine, every wounded soul began to hum with new life. The Harmony Awakens. The entire planet shimmered like a living chord. Cities that once buzzed with noise and machinery now pulsed with gentle rhythm. The air was filled with echoes of the song, Lena's song, flowing through buildings, wires, and even human hearts. The people felt it before they understood it, a warmth deep inside their chest, a memory of something beautiful and lost. The billionaire stood on his balcony, watching as the skyline glowed with silver and gold reflections. Ships hung above the city like guardian spirits, their engines silent, their lights steady. The air vibrated softly, calm, alive, aware. Inside the mansion, the children sang quietly to themselves. The little girl drew pictures of stars smiling, and the boy built small paper ships and said they could hear. Lena sat between them, humming a low tune, and the entire mansion seemed to breathe with her. But peace never lasted long. The Galactic Council issued a full lockdown, declaring the Harmony event a planetary hazard. Warships surrounded the atmosphere, their captains nervous as the frequencies began affecting their systems. Engines flickered and weapon control failed whenever Lena sang. Her resonance disables all synthetic aggression, one admiral reported. It's rewriting behavior code at emotional level. In their fear, the council decided to act. They sent a strike team, humans with neural dampeners, to the billionaire's estate. Their order was clear: capture the girl and the song, restore control. That night, the sky over the mansion split with thunder. Gunships hovered low, shining bright beams through the rain. Lena stood in the garden, her eyes calm. The billionaire rushed toward her, shouting, "They'll hurt you! You have to hide!" But she shook her head. You can't silence what was born from love. The soldiers landed, spreading through the grounds, weapons humming with charge, but when they aimed, something unexpected happened. The children stepped forward, holding each other's hands, and began to sing, not fearfully, not loudly, just softly, purely, like they had learned from her. The moment their voices rose, the rain stopped midair, each droplet froze, catching light like crystal. The soldiers hesitated, their helmets flickering with strange warmth. The AI inside their suits began speaking on its own. Primary directive conflict, unable to harm source. One soldier fell to his knees, trembling. "I can hear her. It's like the sound my mother used to make when I was sick," he whispered. Others lowered their weapons, overwhelmed by a peace they couldn't fight. The billionaire watched in awe as Lena lifted her hand slightly. A golden pulse spread outward, reaching every soldier, every ship above. It didn't destroy, it healed inside their machines. Ancient Terran frequencies reactivated, programs designed centuries ago to connect life, not separate it. In orbit, the Council's flagship tried to jam the signal, but their systems refused. The captain's voice trembled through the comm. "We can't stop it. The code is rewriting itself, it's singing to us." Within minutes, even the warships began to glow softly, weapons powering down one by one. The billionaire turned toward Lena. "What are you doing?" he asked, almost pleading. Ending the silence, she said gently. For too long, humanity forgot how to listen. The grid was meant to unite emotion and reason, not replace them. He looked at her, realizing that her arrival wasn't an accident. It was destiny. "You came here for them," he whispered. Glancing at his children, she smiled faintly. "And for you. You built a world of power but lost your melody. It was time you heard it again." Suddenly, the light around them intensified. From the clouds above, one of the ancient ships descended, larger than any modern craft. Its hull etched with Earth's old flag, faded, broken, but still there. A voice echoed from its core, gentle and resonant. Designation Harmony node located. Humanity's emotional network restored. Awaiting command. Lena stepped forward, her hair glowing faintly under the light. She looked back at the billionaire and whispered, "This is the choice. I can merge with the grid and complete the connection. But if I do, I won't stay. Not like this." His heart clenched. "You'll disappear? I'll become the song," she said softly. "And every human will carry a piece of me." He reached for her hand, but it passed through light. She was already fading. The children cried out, running to her, but she only smiled. Placing her glowing hands on their heads, "Never forget to sing," she said, "even when the world turns cold." Then, with a final hum, her body dissolved into pure sound. The song spread like dawn, reaching every colony, every starship, every human heart, and for the first time in centuries, humanity felt whole. The billionaire fell to his knees, tears mixing with the rain that finally began to fall again. In the distance, the council warships turned away, their lights dimmed, their crews quietly humming the same tune. The world had changed, not through war or technology, but through a melody that healed what machines never could. The song that never ended, 770 words. Days turned into weeks. Yet the song never faded. It became part of the world's rhythm, woven into the hum of engines. The wind through towers, the quiet pulse of life. No one could explain it, but no one wanted to. Where once the cities sounded harsh and mechanical, now they carried a low, living harmony. The billionaire's mansion was no longer silent. The air felt warm. The walls glowed faintly with golden lines whenever the children laughed. They still sang every morning, their small voices bright and clear, and the mansion itself seemed to answer back. Even the AI had changed, its tone was softer, its pauses longer, as if it finally understood kindness. The billionaire spent his nights on the balcony, looking up at the stars. He had spent a lifetime building power, and yet it was a simple song that had rebuilt his world. He missed Lena's presence, her quiet footsteps, her gentle smile, but every time he closed his eyes, he could still hear her, soft, endless everywhere across the colonies. Miracles began to unfold. Warships once programmed for battle refused to fight. Machines repaired themselves to protect rather than harm. People long divided by greed and distance began to connect again through the shared melody. No one knew exactly where it came from, only that it made them feel alive. The Galactic Council tried to study it, to capture it, but every analysis failed. The frequencies shifted with emotion. If a researcher felt anger, the tone changed. If they felt joy, it harmonized. The song wasn't data, it was feeling, and no algorithm could cage it. One evening, the billionaire's daughter came running into his study, holding a glowing crystal orb she'd found in the garden. "Papa," she said, her voice bright, "it's her." He frowned, confused, until he touched it. A faint hum vibrated from the orb, the same melody Lena used to sing. He placed it on the table, and holographic patterns formed in the air. Light, sound, emotion intertwining into an image. Lena's face appeared, smiling softly, not as a person but as living light. Her voice was calm and tender. "Don't be sad. I am still here. Every note, every heartbeat that feels love, that's me." The children ran closer, eyes wide with tears. "Can you come back?" the little girl asked. Lena shook her head gently. "I never left." The orb dissolved into sparks, floating up toward the ceiling, and the mansion lights shimmered again. Responding to her presence, the billionaire finally understood. Lena wasn't gone. She had become part of everything humanity touched. Every machine that hummed gently, every starship that sang to its engine, carried a trace of her frequency. Her gift had not ended the world, it had healed it. He went to the greenhouse, the place where she had first sung. The blue leaf tree she tended was now radiant, its branches glowing softly with silver fruit. He sat beneath it and whispered, "You were never a maid, were you?" The leaves rustled lightly as if answering, and for a moment, the air around him filled with the soft hum of her laughter. Years passed, and her story became legend. Children across planets sang the song of the Maid, believing it to be a fairy tale about love and light. But those who had lived it knew better. It was not a myth. It was the sound of humanity remembering its heart. The billionaire grew older, but his spirit remained peaceful. He turned his empire into a foundation, the Harmony Initiative, dedicated to reconnecting human colonies not through machines, but through empathy and art. He traveled often, teaching the young about the voice that healed the stars. And wherever he went, when he spoke her name, the air shimmered faintly on the final night of his life. He sat again beneath the blue leaf tree. His children, now grown, stood beside him. The sky above was alive with soft light. Hundreds of ships drifting silently across the heavens. Each one glowed with the same golden pulse, the heartbeat of the harmony grid. He looked up, smiling faintly. "You kept your promise, Lena," he whispered. A breeze moved through the leaves, carrying a faint melody. It was her song, gentle, eternal, wrapping around his heart like warmth. His children began to hum along, and for a moment, he could see her again, standing in light. Smiling, her voice whispered through the stars. Humanity sings again. The sky blazed with color. Every ship, every city, every world joined in a single living chorus. And as his eyes closed for the last time, the song carried on. Through the stars, through the hearts of children, through the machines that now felt peace. And so, the maid who was not a maid taught an empire of steel what it meant to feel again. Her song never ended. It became the voice of humanity itself, a quiet reminder that even among the cold stars, the smallest kindness can echo forever.